Hi, I'm Kyle, and this is my presentation on managing fiscal resources and budgeting. What is budgeting? Budgeting is the process of planning and working to meet or exceed the goals of the plan. It is a detailed and quantitative plan that communicates expectations and serves as a basis to compare actual results. It shows how resources will be acquired and used over a specific time interval, and it lets management project activities into the future so objectives are coordinated and well met. The budgeting process. A budget is a quantitative statement of the plans and expectations of a defined area over a set time frame. It usually is presented in monetary terms. And open communication between nurse managers and staff is crucial to raise awareness of goals and expectations. With this, staff will strive to meet goals if they are made aware of these goals. And the planning phase begins with reviewing goals and objectives with nursing in the organization. Approaches to budgeting. Some of the areas of budget requests. The first one is the cost centers. Managers are responsible for predicting, managing, and documenting the costs. A revenue center, which managers are responsible for generating revenues. The profit center, which managers are responsible for showing a profit in their department through revenue exceeding costs. And finally, the investment centers, which managers are responsible for generating revenues and managing costs, capital equipment, and assets. The different types of budgets. The first type is an incremental budget. This is when the finance department distributes a budget worksheet listing each expense item or category on a separate expense line. This budget works well for simplicity of preparation, but it lacks in cost efficiency. The second type of budget is a zero-based budget. This operates under the assumption that the base for projecting next year's budget is zero. This requires managers to justify all activities and programs as if they are being initiated for the first time. This type of budget works well for having every expense justified, while the downfall is that it's very time-consuming and it may not be necessary. The last type is a fixed or variable budget. A fixed budget has the amount set without regard to changes that may occur during the year, while a variable budget is developed with the understanding that adjustments may be made. Then there's the operating budget. This is also known as the annual budget. It's the organization's statement of expected revenues and expenses for the year. This budget coincides with the fiscal year, and this can also be broken up into two different parts. One is a 6-month period, and the other is 3-month periods, or also known as quarters. It also contains the revenue budget, which is a representation of patient care income expected for the budget period. Reimbursement is based off of the quality of care in the facility rather than the services provided. It also contains the expense budget, which consists of salary and non-salary items, and these should reflect patient care objectives and activity parameters set on the nursing unit by the manager. Within the budget, the nurse manager must determine the salary and non-salary budget. The salary budget projects the salary costs that will be paid and charged to the cost center during the budget period. Factors include employee benefits, such as vacations, holidays, and personal days, shift differentials, overtime, on-call hours, premiums, salary increases, changes in technology, clinical supports, delivery systems, clinical programs or procedures, and regulatory requirements. The non-salary budget identifies patient-related supplies needed to operate a nursing unit. Some of these include office supplies, rental fees, maintenance costs, and equipment service contracts, and it needs to utilize an inflation rate index to monitor inflation prices. The next budget is a capital budget, and this identifies physical renovations, new construction, and new or replacement equipment within a time period. With the capital budget, the nurse manager must identify these needs prior to budget requests and allocate funds to do so. And lastly, the nurse manager must be able to prioritize the needs of the unit. One example of this, if the TVs in the patient rooms are outdated and not working properly, a nurse manager may look to replace these in the coming budget. However, if new vital sign equipment, patient lifts, or other patient care equipment needs updated or replaced, the nurse manager will need to prioritize these over the new TVs in the capital budget. Monitoring and controlling budgetary performance. The nurse manager is to be monitoring variances and presenting plans to reduce these variances. Variances are the difference between the amount that was budgeted for a specific revenue or cost and the actual revenue that resulted. Variances are required to be dealt with in a timely manner. They are to be prioritized by levels such as dollar amounts or percentages that are set by the organization. Variances are also favorable or unfavorable. Favorable variances are when more earnings come in than expected, or if less money was spent than was expected. Unfavorable variances are when less earnings came in than expected, or if more money was spent than expected. Salary variances are categorized into volume, efficiency, and rate variances. Volume variances are a result of a difference between the budgeted and actual workload requirements. Efficiency variances is a reflection between budgeted and actual nursing care hours provided. And rate variances is the difference in budgeted and actual hourly rates paid. Non-salary variances are due to changes in patient volume, supply quantities, patient mix, or prices paid. It also includes new, additional, or more expensive supplies used on the unit for regulation changes or technology changes. And the position control compares the actual numbers of employees and the number of FTEs that were budgeted. Staff on the nurse manager's unit can also affect the budget. Some examples are misuse of sick time and excess overtime or turnover. Another example is the wasteful use of resources. Staff may be grabbing excess supplies and wasting those not needed, such as dressing change supplies, IV supplies, or incontinence pads. They also may not be using the full amount of supplies, such as using minimal wipes and throwing the rest out. Staff must also make sure that they are documenting accurately. Accurate documentation reflects how the unit is reimbursed. Some examples include accurate stop times for IV infusions, bladder scan charges, and Foley and straight catheter charges. Without accurate documentation of these, the unit won't be properly reimbursed and can receive less income than was expected in the budget. This slide contains a video that explains how the analysis of variance works. And this slide contains a video that explains capital budget. Some additional information regarding budgeting. Budgeting is a task that every nurse manager must perform. In addition to other responsibilities, nurse managers experience high rates of burnout. If budgeting concepts are not grasped or completed well, the rate at which the nurse manager can experience burnout is increased. One solution is ensuring filled FTEs and staffing ratios. Proper staffing ratios can reduce other stressors on the unit and improve patient care and unit satisfaction. Another is trying to implement small changes in small increments. This will help reduce staff stressors when changes are implemented. Also, when the nurse manager implements a change on the unit, they should aim to do so with awareness and intention so staff members can support the nurse manager in completing their goals. Budgeting is a skill that takes practice. It may take up to one full fiscal cycle for understanding. It's not just allocating resources and monetary values. Keeping in mind staffing ratios and FTEs are important. Poor staffing ratios may make turnover rates increase, and this can cause unfavorable variances in the budget for the fiscal year. The nurse manager should also look to implement value-based care. Value-based care focuses on high-quality care at lower costs. This is in line with changes on how organizations are reimbursed, on the quality of care the patients receive, not the quantity of care. This improves patient and staff satisfaction rates, which can cause favorable variances in the budget if costs to provide high-quality care are lower than expected.